Joining me now to talk about Israel's continuing offensive against Hamas in Gaza is the former Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel, who is in fact currently a member of the Israeli Knesset, the Israeli Parliament. I am joined by Idan. Mr. Rule, thank you so much for joining us here on News9 Live. This is obviously a very difficult and
Thank
challenging
you. Good
time
evening.
for your country. So we
Yes,
appreciate you
indeed.
taking the
But I
time
do
out for us.
thank,
Thank you for making the
thank you
time.
very much.
And I can tell you that, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Israel right now. But, I want to ask you specifically about some important developments that have taken place. The mayor of the Israeli city of Sderot has said, we are evacuating the city to give our army a chance to win. Now, this is, of course, near the border with Gaza. This seems to be yet another indication, Mr. Roll, that Israel is preparing for a ground offensive. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's too soon to talk about, and obviously, we can't discuss any type of proposed military action. I do think, however, that two things must happen. First, the world needs to know that Israel will do whatever it takes to strike back at Hamas and ensure the safety of our people and our borders. We are coming together strong after a disastrous first strike by Hamas, a hideous massacre, things that even ISIS wouldn't do. Little children being decapitated, um, families burned in their own homes, these are things that haven't happened to Jews since the Holocaust. But we are a strong nation. And so we will strike back and make sure that we end terror. And the second thing is we need the world to stand by us. And I urge everyone to do so because we are a country defending itself against terror. And terror doesn't discriminate between different nations and different races and different ethnicities. Terror must be brought down, must be defeated. And this is what we're doing here.
I understand, and I also understand that you don't want to give away sensitive military and operational details, but I'm going to ask you this question. Your prime minister has said, we will destroy Hamas, something that you just referred to. The defense minister has said, we will wipe Hamas off the face of the earth. The question that many are asking now is Israel also planning a capture of the Gaza Strip?
Are we planning of holding the Gaza Strip?
Taking control of the Gaza Strip. Is that on the agenda as well?
I don't know. I have to say that I don't think that's something that Israel is interested in, nor have we been interested in. If you look back at, recent history, the last 2 decades, we are not in control of the Gaza Strip. Many around the world are mistaken about it because we left the Gaza Strip in 2005, and then Hamas took over, held an election, and these were the last elections so far because since then, Hamas has been using the people of Gaza as human shields in order to create terror and chaos and try and annihilate the state of Israel. That's its declared cause. And so we will do whatever it takes. This is what our government means, and meaning that if we need to go in and that's inevitable, we'll do that. If we need to take hold temporarily of certain areas in order to clear them of terrorist and Hamas headquarters, we'll do whatever it takes. But we never wanted to have any involvement with the people of Hamas and regulating the area. We left there at a very high cost in 2005. Many forget that Hamas had the opportunity to create a great place and to make the Gaza Strip into a great place. They got funds and assistance from all over the world. We made many concessions for Hamas in order to, stabilize the humanitarian aspect. And time again, Hamas chose war and destruction. So we will not allow this to further impact our people.
Okay, let me ask you this. I interviewed the Palestinian ambassador to India yesterday, who said, we've heard many times in the past that Israel would carry out a ground invasion. It has never happened till date. And he insinuated that it was because Israel has always had this fear that its soldiers could be captured and held hostage. Is that not a real concern if there were, let's say hypothetically, to be a ground offensive? Is there not a real concern that soldiers could be taken hostage? Or is Israel prepared to pay any price right now?
You know, the life of our soldiers and the life of our people, that's that's always the main concern. That's always the devastating part. We are a country that cherishes life. Hamas cherishes death. And so we take very seriously every decision we make when we send people out to war. So yes, that's always a huge factor. But what happened a few days ago, the massacre done to the people in the south of Israel, and the fact that we have over in the Gaza Strip, including young children, young mothers, Holocaust survivors, people with disabilities, we will not sit still and we will strike back. And when we say we will do whatever it takes, I really recommend to anyone who is tracking down our, record with Hamas to not rely on anything that has happened in the past, because what they did is not similar to anything that they did in the past. And so the gloves are off, everything is possible, and we will do whatever it takes to secure our borders and our people. But yes, we will always do so with high morality, knowing that human lives is something to be cherished. And this is how we also conduct our strikes.
Okay, so I want to ask you about that since you talked about human lives and how they are precious. Of course, you're right that the butchery and the savagery that Hamas terrorists have displayed this time uh, is bone chilling. They seem to have, in a sense, crossed all limits. They've been no wonder likened to ISIS. But are you not concerned that as Israel continues to intensify its counteroffensive against Hamas in Gaza, the close to 150 people, most of them Israeli, who are currently being held hostage in Gaza, are in serious danger that they could actually end up as collateral damage?
I think that we take very seriously when we strike. And I can tell you from personal experience, as my as part of my Army Reserves duty, I'm an officer in the reserves, and I have sat many times in the places, in the rooms where they decide whether or not to strike down a terrorist. And I've witnessed countless times when we had the ability to strike at a terrorist, but somewhere down the street was somewhere that was uninvolved with terror, and we just aborted it. And we do that time and time again when we have to pay the price eventually. So I can safely say that I've witnessed at firsthand the morality of the IDF, of the Israeli Defense Forces. I do think, however, that that the question proposed should be a bit different. I think the world should say Hamas must stop hiding under schools, under mosques, under hospitals, and stop using their own people as human shield. Because the problem with fighting terror is that they intertwine themselves intentionally within civilians. And so if we were to not hurt anyone at all, we wouldn't be able to even take down a few. We are doing the best we can to minimize the collateral impact, but we can't sit still when our civilians are being attacked. And I have to repeat that Hamas is targeting our civilians, not soldiers. This is not a war. This is a country not fighting another country. This is a country with an army fighting vicious terrorists that act the same as ISIS. and we need to take care of that. This is not just an Israeli problem. Hamas is a proxy of Iran, just like Hezbollah, the Houthis, and everyone else around the Middle East that are only pawns by Iran to destabilize the area and create terror and chaos. We are doing this, hopefully, so other nations wouldn't have to.
Okay. Clearly, all of Israel is convinced that Iran is behind this, it's orchestrated these attacks. But since we are talking about minimizing civilian casualties in Gaza, we're all aware, Mr. Roll, that Gaza is home to 2.3 million people. 50% of them are actually children. We know that they're not all Hamas. Yes, it's unfortunate that these, savages use their own people as human shields. That is an unfortunate reality. But when Israel says that we want the residents of Gaza, we ask them to evacuate, the question is, where would they go? It's been argued that they have nowhere to run. They blockaded from all sides, including Egypt, which doesn't want any refugees.
First of all, it's really important to say I'm not going into specifics as far as Iran, but yes, both Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies, and they're being and they have strong connections to Iran. Iran is funding terror all throughout the region. As per your question, we are doing the best we can. We give prior notice of evacuation. We build meticulous army actions in order to ensure the safety of as many people as we can. I think the world should stop asking this question and start from the top and say, why is Hamas holding these people? Why is he bringing war upon them? It was never in the past, never ever in history, that Israel struck at the Gaza Strip. We are simply defending ourselves. And then, we are giving prior notice. No one gave prior notice to all of us, including my family, who were living right next to the Gaza border. And now their friends and family have been massacred. No one gave them any type of prior notice.
I understand what you're saying, and our hearts go out to the Israeli people, the victims and the families who've suffered unimaginably since last weekend. But I have to ask you this question. Many have accused Israel of committing a war crime by cutting off food, water, and power supply to 2.3 million people in the Gaza enclave. How would you respond to that allegation?
I'm sorry, but I cannot accept that. Also, again, both because of my past, both as deputy foreign minister and as in my legal past and my army reserves past, I actually witnessed all sides of the equation. We are doing whatever we can, and we always act under law. And this is a good question. Israel is Israel is a law-governed state. We only do whatever is permitted by law, even when we have to take down or perform a strike against terror, even when we want to demolish a house of a terrorist that just killed a whole family. We do it according to the law. We need to get a subpoena from the court. We need to do everything, and it takes time and procedure. Our enemies, on the other hand, they have zero procedure, zero morals, and zero empathy or humanity. We are trying to do the impossible. We are trying to win against terror while playing or within the perimeters of a Western country, of a democracy. That is close to impossible. And I think we're doing a very good job at it, considering the circumstances.
Apart from the US, is there any other country that has committed military support to Israel?
We have seen quite a support so far in the statements given by other countries as well, like Germany and like the UK and like France. I think that given the situation, if we will require additional support, I'm sure that other nations will stand by us. I don't know if there's a need right now. I do think, however, that even more so than military support, we need the international community's support in our endeavors to eliminate terror, because it's not going to take a day and it's not going to take a week. It's going to take more than that. And I know that right now the world stands by us, but I urge you to keep doing so, even a week or 2 weeks from now, because we were forced into this war, but we will prevail and we will make sure that our people are safe. And I know that every democracy in the world would have done the same.
Final question, I promise you. Just one last question. An Egyptian intelligence official has said that Israel had been warned of a potential deadly attack 3 days before Hamas carried out these terror attacks. The warnings were ignored. Your response?
I've seen the publications. I've been caught up all day and all night in doing our work here in order to ensure that things are working seamlessly. We're all doing our part. I don't know. I saw it, I read it just as you guys read it. I don't know anything else to add on that, so I wouldn't. But I can tell you that right now, regardless of what might or might not have happened, we are all united in coming together in order to win this war. And that's the most important thing right now. Afterwards, I can assure you that we will investigate every possible flaw, because that is also part of our duty as people and members of parliament, members of government, everyone.
Mr. Idan Rule, we're all hoping and praying that the war ends at the earliest, and our thoughts and prayers are with the victims. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to us.
Thank you. And thank you for covering this story. It's important to us. Have a good evening.
Thank you.